Welcome back to episode 60 of the ATD Baseball Podcast. We are getting up there in the number. We are on the road to 100, and we'll be
Yes,
there
sir.
before you know it. Full house today. Believe it or not, we actually do have some stuff to talk about. Because now, this has been a weird off season because there's still a whole bunch of names that haven't been signed yet. And I'm beginning to ask myself, are we going to go into spring training with Cody Bellinger not on a team yet, with Jordan Montgomery not on a team yet, with Blake Snell not on a team yet? Because it looks like that's going to happen. Are we going to have another Bryce Harper, Manny Machado situation here? But full house today, myself, Matt, and Kyle. Gentlemen, how are we doing today?
Doing good. I'm not gonna ramble about the weather for too long, but it is cold out east here, so I'm gonna complain about it. I'm gonna be a sissy. I don't care. It's okay.
Hey!
Melo's chilling in the nice 60s, 70s out there, so we're gonna complain a little bit. But yeah, a little strange. Halfway through January, and still some big. The reigning Cy Young winner is still available. Let that sink in a little bit. Food for thought.
Yeah, Matt, I'm going to double down with you there. This weather's got to go. Makes me extremely excited that spring training is slowly but surely approaching. This offseason has been weird. And obviously we're going to get into it a little bit more here, but it's been weird for me as a Yankee fan too. Lots of weird names coming off the board, I'll tell you that.
Kyle's got a new favorite player.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, and we will talk about that favorite player, Marcus Stroman. He is now a member of the New York Yankees. Cubs continue to make moves, and they could easily, and I know we put this out last week, we put our winners and losers of the offseason.
Boy,
Cubs
you would have thought. We gotta get into that a little bit. I was absolutely crucified in the comments because how dare I say the Cubs were losers of the trade or of the offseason so far. It's hard to get to people. I understand that. And there are some teams who haven't done as much as the Cubs. People said the Marlins. Yes, but there weren't expectations for the Marlins. The Marlins literally came out and said that there's a chance they could trade Luis Ariz. They're listening to offers on him. The Cubs didn't come out. Yeah, exactly. Somebody will snatch him out the Dodgers at this point, probably. But no, I got to defend myself real quick, and then we'll get into the moves. But the Cubs had expectations to do stuff this offseason. They were half foot in the door on the Ohtani rumors. It wasn't out of the question. It wasn't like we said the Royals were going to sign Ohtani. The Cubs was like, probably not, but like their name's mentioned there. Now, in other people, exactly, they can get a meeting. You lost Cody Bellinger so far. Doesn't seem like he's going to come back. You lost Marcus Stroman now. Not a huge piece, but like it was a nice pickup at the trade deadline. You lost Jamer Candelario. And who'd you sign? We signed the most expensive manager out there, stealing Craig Counsell, and now you signed Shota Imanaga. Other than that, you have not signed any impactful major league talent. And that's why I said they're losers of the offseason. But I digress. So who are we getting into? What signings are we getting into, Melo?
Let's start off with Marcus Stroman. Because I'm sure Kyle will tell you right now, this is not your typical Yankees move. And I saw a lot of memes over the weekend of a certain owner or a certain guy who used to run the team. We don't know if he would have approved of that signing. But for Marcus Stroman, just my quick thoughts, and I'll throw it to Kyle. Marcus Stroman doesn't need to be the ace of this team. Doesn't need to be. He could be your 3, he could be your 4. And I think this is a perfect scenario for Marcus Stroman. Get his value back up, and if the Yankees have a bad season again, hey, that's a tradable piece at the deadline. Kyle, what do you have to say about this?
Yeah, so Melo, I'm extremely glad that you had brought that up because we have seen Marcus Stroman at the highs and at the lows. And coming into this Yankee staff, he is not the ace. You have Garrett Cole, number one. You got as it lines up right now. Then you have Carlos Rodon, um, and then you have Marcus Stroman as of right now. That is also depending on how Nestor Cortez and Clark Schmidt end up starting the season. So I really like this move, and I think it works in his favor. It really does because look, I understand you're in a big market and you're not in Queens anymore. You're over here in the Bronx. That's a totally different area, but he understands the New York media, which I like. And another thing, Melo, I'm kind of going to grab your card here. Marcus Stroman wants to be a Yankee. He has said it for years. He might have denied it in the worst ways possible, but you know what? Everybody knows he wanted to be a Yankee, and now he is one. And I think that's gonna push him a little bit more, right? And I also so going on the signing itself. I'm shocked for how cheap that the Yankees got Marcus Stroman. I am absolutely shocked. So $18.5 million with a third vesting option, I believe it was. So theoretically, it's a 2-year deal that could turn into a 3-year deal if he pitches over 140 innings. I like this move. I do. I think it adds depth. And the Yankees lost out on Yoshinobu Yamamoto. They had to pivot. I thought I would have liked Blake Snell. It's still a possibility. Yes, they did. It's still a possibility. I feel like that the Yankees, knowing them, they're going to watch that market for both him and Montgomery. They're going to watch the market, see if the price drops, and then they're going to go on their merry way. But as of right now, I think this staff is pretty much set going into spring training. I think that they are going to reassess at the deadline and see what's available, see if Burns' price comes down a little bit or if Bieber's price comes down, whatever it is. I like this move when it comes to depth. But because they are not doing any more on the starting pitching side of things, I think they're going to turn and do what the Yankees do best, and that's bullpen. The Yankees finished first all last season in bullpen ERA. That is the one thing I will always give Brian Cashman, is that man knows how to assemble a bullpen. He's pretty damn good at it. I will give him that. And they're interested in Hector Neris right now, Matt's old friend. I would love that move. And I think just bolstering this bullpen is going.
You can't trust him. You can't trust him. You can't trust Hector Neris.
Listen, I understand that, but we're not going to need him in the ninth inning. So it's a little bit different. So I feel like that's where the Yankees are going to go. And my closing thoughts on this, I think this pitching staff relies heavily, and I mean make or break, on Carlos Rodon. That man needs to go back to being the pitcher that we signed. He needs to be Garrett Cole's number 2. If not, I think this staff is in a heap of trouble. But if he works out again, Stroman works out, and Nestor can be half of what he was in 22, I like where this staff is. Closing thoughts, I think Marcus Stroman, I think he's going to bring value to this team. I really do. And I really like the deal that we got him on. I think that's my favorite part because at his high, he is a Cy Young candidate at his high. But we'll see how it goes. And I'm also extremely interested to see how this man handles pressure because he is going to feel it. I'm telling you, as of right now, he is in line to start the Yankees home opener against the Blue Jays. If he shits the bed, I'm telling you right now, he is going to hear it on Twitter. And we all know his history with Twitter. So I'm very interested to see how he handles pressure of the New York media as well as the Yankee fans after a bad start.
Is he going to hear it from you or is he going to hear it from everybody else?
He'll hear it from everybody else. Me personally, he's not making the kind of money that he should hear it from me. That's just the way I look at it. I love the deal so much that, now, obviously, I don't want him putting up a Rodon 23 type season. But if he can go out there, give me 5 innings, 5, 6, 7 innings of 2-3 run ball, I'm happy with that, especially going on to the bullpen.
Listen, Marcus Stroman had a solid season last year up till the All-Star break.
Yes.
He was in line to be top 5 in NL Cy Young voting. It was ironically enough, it was Marcus Stroman, Justin Steele, and even Clayton Kershaw in the Cy Young. Those were your main Cy Young candidates. at the halfway mark of the season. Not to say the other guys, Zach Gallen and Blake Snell, weren't in the mix, but those guys were like the prominent names. He pitched to about a 4 ERA last year. 3.95, I think it was. Yeah, 3.95. Which a lot of those came in the second half of the season. I think he had an injury and then came back, and he wasn't 100%. I think it's a good pickup for the Yankees, honestly. As long as he doesn't let his personality get in the way a little bit. Listen, I'm not a guy. I'm not a George Steinbrenner. I'm not telling you to mute your personality. But as long as you're not picking fights in the media, like more worried about what people are going to think about you after your starts or what people are going to say on Twitter, like take the Garrett Cole approach to things. Like as much as we make fun of him, he sounds like Kermit the Frog.
Hi, home.
Insert Melo. Exactly. As much as we make fun of him, he does good with the New York media, actually. And listen, Garrett he's not out here calling people out on Twitter. He's not out here calling people out on Instagram, anything like that. Garrett Cole, he'll talk to the media after a loss, but he's not too high or too low with the media. Correct. Marcus Stroman, take a page out of Garrett Cole's book. I'm not telling you to suppress who you are, because I don't think that's the right approach to things. But I am saying to just be smart about how you handle things. You know, there's no need to go off on people for, doing their job. Now, Twitter trolls are another thing. Just don't respond to them. You're the guy who's just signed for $18 million. I mean, those are the guys living in their basement. Well, not Kyle. He's not living in his basement. But, a lot of those Twitter trolls are just nameless, faceless peoples. So you can't let that get to you, man. But no, overall, solid deal. Carlos Rodon is a pin, though, in this Yankees rotation, and it's going to sway either way, I think. It's crazy to see a starting pitcher that the Yankees were throwing out there sort of without question each time up in his rotation, and he finished with an almost 7 ERA last year.
Same with Sevy.
Yes. It's like, I understand they were in a bad spot at the end of the year, eliminated from the playoffs, or almost statistically eliminated, so like these games don't matter, but still, to throw out a guy with an almost 7 ERA as a starting pitcher, like every 5 days, and not have like not have a worry about it, but not be like, I don't know if we can keep this guy in the rotation. It's tough. He's got to have a turnaround season. I'm not saying, what was that, 2021 season? I'm not saying 2022 seasons with the White Sox or with the Giants there, but you got to have at least a solid season. Bring that down to at least a 4 ERA, a 3 ERA, and mix in some really good starts in there. And then I think I like where the Yankees rotation is at right now. I do have to do a quick callback. I said I would take the Phillies rotation over the Yankees rotation last year when the Yankees added Carlos Rodon. Just saying.
Listen, Matt. I get that. I do, but at the same time, on paper, come on.
On paper, yes. On paper.
On paper, that staff was looking dangerous. It was looking good. And okay, real quick, and my last thoughts here. Number one, why do you think Michael King was headlining that Juan Soto deal? We were throwing out these guys 7 ERAs on the season, and Michael King was our best reliever, turning him into a starter. Got the Padres to get a little bit of a look at what they're getting. But no, and closing thoughts here, I am very excited, kind of nervous as well, to see how these personalities mix. Because now you bring in Stroman on top of bringing in Alex Verdugo, on top of Juan Soto. Carlos Rodon can get a little fiery with the media. I am extremely excited, kind of nervous to see how these personalities mix, because this is something we have not seen in Yankee land for quite some time. I mean, we're throwing out teams in the last few seasons like DJ LeMahieu. He has no personality whatsoever. Same with the rest of this team. I mean, Judge kind of, goes around the bush as he's supposed to. Stanton, he just goes in with the media. He's been very good. Cole, you were talking about him. These are guys now who are coming into this clubhouse who are not afraid to talk to the media and give them their personality. So I'm kind of excited to see how this locker room meshes. This is going to be a very interesting season coming up personality wise for these guys. I'll tell you that.
Stroman will play to that crowd though.
Yes.
If he gets a big strikeout in a big game, he's gonna be pumping his chest. He's gonna be firing up the crowd and stuff. So I'm excited to see that.
Me too, man, because we need more of that. We really do. And if Stroman can give me that, what he was given in Chicago to those fans, oh, man, Yankee fans are going to eat that up. And he's going to thrive off of that. And that's another thing I'm excited for with when it comes to Marcus Stroman.
It was boring 100%. In Chicago.
I saw some clips, man. Come on.
It's the friendly confines. Passion doesn't necessarily belong there. I mean,
friendly confines.
Yeah, exactly. I gotta say one thing. I saw enough Tony Soprano having his whatever panic attack. I saw enough of those clips of what George Steinbrenner would have been like over the weekend or over whenever this signing was. I think I'm good. I think that counts as me rewatching The Sopranos again. So I think I'm all right. I won't have to tune into that again for a while. But we mentioned the Cubs. Good little transfer right there. Shota Imanaga. That's a Cubs big signing. I got into a little bit earlier that they have expectations. They should have signed some more people. Well, they signed their guy, I guess. Shota Imanaga. Solid pitcher. We saw him in the World Baseball Classic. Kind of did his thing against Team USA there. But another one of these guys where it's like, you don't know what you're getting. You don't know what you're getting. Now, he didn't get a big old Yamamoto bag like the Dodgers gave out, but it ended up being a 4-year deal, I believe, around 15 a year, I think. Somebody could pull those up real quick. I think that's right, but I'm not 100% sure. And the Cubs get another guy who's probably going to fall into the third-ish area in their rotation. I think Justin Steele going to be above him, and then I'm missing somebody else there, I think.
Tyone's in there.
Yes, Jameson Tyone's in there as well. I think that the Cubs still need to do more, but at least you did something here. You added another arm. You effectively replaced Marcus Stroman, I guess, but don't be afraid to go out there, whether it is re-sign Cody Bellinger, whether it is getting, I don't know about Blake Snell, maybe you're getting a Blake Snell. That'd be a lot of lefties in that rotation, though. I mean, Justin Steele, Shota Imanaga, and Blake Snell all headlining. Yikes. That'd be interesting. But whatever it is, be a little more active out there, Cubs. We know you got the money, all right? I've been buying Wrigley gum for a while. Come on, you got the money to go out and sign some free agents. But what do you think, Melo?
Yeah, they definitely got the money. They're not afraid to renovate everything else around the stadium. So clearly the money's there. I like it. I mean, I'm sure you guys saw in his introductory press conference, he was basically singing
that was awesome.
Go Cubs, go! Which, yeah, I love that. And if you're a Cubs fan, that's got to be a good feeling that, hey, you know what? This dude actually wants to be here. He cares. And that was the beauty of the World Baseball Classic last year, that Japan coming to the United States and winning the tournament put a lot of these Japanese players, and more particular these Japanese pitchers, to the eyes of the American people and to the eyes of MLB. And it gave them a chance to, not only did they win the gold medal, but they were able to showcase some of their best pitchers that they have in Japan. And now it's starting to pay off this offseason, and it's going to continue with some other names, either this still to come or in the next couple off seasons. But I like the move for Chicago. You have to do something. If you're gonna go out and steal away the manager from your arch rival, I'm sure Craig Counsell took the Cubs job to be a World Series contender, not to be the middle of the road. Maybe we'll win the division this year. Maybe we won't. Maybe we'll be a wild card team. He wants to be in a World Series competitive team. That's why he came to Chicago, and that's why he left Milwaukee. So I like the move for the Cubs, and hopefully Cubs can continue off of this. And I don't think they're done. So we'll see what happens. But that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, Matt. I kind of took your back on this one with our losers. I really did. And for me personally, I put the Padres in there. Losing Juan Soto, that means something to me at least.
Well, losing Blake Snell, probably losing Josh Hader too.
Josh Hader.
Correct, yes. But the Cubs were very close to going on my list here. Because number one, you went out and you stole Craig Counsell, and then you did nothing for months until you just signed oh my gosh, I almost said Yamamoto, Imanaga. So for the Cubs here, I like this move. It does effectively replace Marcus Stroman in the rotation. And from his press conference, it kind of showed that he wanted to be there. I think that means something. Melo, you were talking about this all offseason. I like the move. And I also like – this is why I love the World Baseball Classic so much, because we get a taste of these guys. So, yeah, Melo, I completely agree with you. Hey, yeah, I know. That's going to be something. We get a taste
hey!
What the we get a taste of what these guys can bring to the mound, to the field. Yeah, and I feel like it goes hand in hand. And I loved watching the entire Japan team, and we saw it this whole offseason, and Imanaga is just the next domino to fall. But yeah, I really like the move for the Cubs, but they need more. They need to keep going. You know, making such a statement like that at the beginning of this offseason and then basically doing nothing is not going to get you over the top. The Cubs need to be big spenders like we know that they can. And I feel like they just need to build off of it.
And for them, you know, screwing around with Cody Bellinger here tells me that they're not as high as they thought they were on him. And that kind of tells me that maybe the little resurgent. Wow, I couldn't get that out. Resurgent year he had in 2023. The Cubs kind of beating around the bush and, you know, not really taking, you know, their chance with him kind of tells me that, hey, maybe they thought 2023 was a fluke. Maybe they thought that that's not who he is anymore. That's what it tells me with the Cubs. And I'm hearing it from every Cubs fan. I heard it from Dansby Swanson over the weekend. They want him back. So for me, it's I don't know what you're debating about or what's going on, but as each passing day goes by, and this goes for the other teams too, I don't think they're as high on Cody Bellinger as maybe some fans in Major League Baseball are. I think there's executives out there that believe 2023 was kind of a little of a fluke.
I don't blame him either, and I feel like that's the main reason why he hasn't been signed yet.
Yeah.
I thought the same thing. That's why I'm glad that the Yankees didn't go for him.
Yeah, who knows what he's looking for and how that plays into what teams are thinking. And I mean, yeah, it's one thing to ask the agent what we're talking about here. Like, are we talking like 150 million? Are we talking 200 million? Or are you looking for a short deal? Like, just to get a feeler of what it's looking like. And it's a totally other thing to start negotiations and have a sit-down meeting. So who knows what teams are sending out feelers and what they're getting back in response. Like, no, he's asking for a lot. And his market, of course, is high right now, coming off a season where he did have a resurgence. He hit over 300 on the season. He seemed like the Cody Bellinger of old. But Cubs got to do something more. I said I said 4 years 60s, 4 years of 53 for Imanaga, so that was close. A little bit less than 15 a year, and there's options to escalate that to upwards of around 80 million, I think, and for like 6 years.
That's a
So
great deal.
yes, I'm excited for him. See what he can do in the big leagues here. Yeah, we got to stay Cubs here for a second. I got to get your thoughts, quick, Melo, on the Michael Busch trade. Mean anything to you or not really?
Michael Busch was one of those guys that I really wanted to see the Dodgers keep around, and I wanted to see the Dodgers give him a fair shot because they didn't do that. Now it sucks because there was just no place for this dude to go. When you're rolling out Betts, Friedman, now Ohtani, you had JD Martinez as your DH last year, Muncy. There was really nowhere this guy could have played. And it sucks because we saw from the little time that he was up on the Major League roster during the summer, you saw the potential. You did. And a lot of Dodger fans, including myself, were very high on Michael Busch. I'm like, hey, this could be a real part of our future. But it just there was no room for him on this roster. And that sucks. And even when he was here and he was tearing it up in the minor leagues all summer. And there were some guys on the active roster that weren't really doing much, and I was like, let's give Michael Busch a shot. And other Dodger fans were saying it too, and they finally brought him up. I think the Dodgers were going through some injuries at the time, but he never got a real fair shot. So I wish him well in Chicago, and you got a good one. You got he's got a ton of pop. So I hope Chicago uses him, and I think he's going to blossom over there in Chicago. So that could be another part of your piece that the Cubs have. But sucks. I really wanted to keep Busch around.
See, and I also thought that Michael Busch could have headlined a nice trade because for once this offseason, I personally feel that the Dodgers kind of lost the trade, kind of lost a move this offseason. I personally didn't think that they got enough back for Michael Busch. I believe they got the Cubs' number 9 overall prospect. I understand you're giving out a piece that you don't need. You're bringing in a piece that you would like to have. You can't have too much pitching. But at the end of the day, I feel like they could have headlined Michael Busch for a nice trade. So for me, I think it was just a little underwhelming on the Dodgers side.
And I'm glad you mentioned that, Kyle, because there was times when they were in discussions of a trade for a starting pitcher or another outfielder, especially at the deadline this past year. Dodgers were not putting Michael Busch in any trades. They were not going to do it. So yeah, it was a little head scratching to see it over this past week. It's like, so we held on to him for so long and he never got a fair shot, but it seemed like the very next deal you had to get rid of him and get something. You just took the first deal. So yeah, that was a little head scratching too. So I'm glad you brought that up.
Feels like they could have had a little more leverage when they went to trade him. Pulling up his stats here real quick. At the major league level, he got 72 at-bats, only got 12 hits, 2 home runs, minus half a WAR. So
never got a fair shot.
Exactly. Yeah. You would have had more leverage trading him if he'd never appeared in the major leagues, because that little stint is going to hurt his value. Either give him a second shot to make him seem more valuable, or trade him before he sees the major league level if you're not that confident in him, or obviously feel like there's not a spot for him. But hey, they did what they did. I mean, they got back a decent prospect. Was it 2 pitchers or was it just that one?
It was.
I think it was 2.
It was 2.
Yeah.
Okay. The other guy just wasn't as notable.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to see where you were at with that one because I wasn't sure what the feeling was in Dodgerland, really. But we're gonna stick around in the NL West for our final little moves here. Jordan Hicks.
Oh boy.
Converted closer / relief pitcher from the Cardinals and now to the Blue Jays and now finally to the Giants. signed a little deal to be a starting pitcher. Interesting, to say the least. I like Hicks as a closer. I know he hasn't had the most success there recently, but it feels like usually it's the other way around, right? You convert starters into closers. You don't try and stretch out closers into starters. You try and shrink down a starter and say, you're good across an inning or 2 innings. Let's make you a relief pitcher. Or you struggle with injuries. Let's make you a relief pitcher. You don't have to throw so many innings across the season. But now you're trying to stretch a guy out to be a starting pitcher. Interesting. I'm glad the Giants are doing something, at least. It was enough for me to help catapult them into my winners for the trade deadline, which got more crap for that. But
you and me both, Matt.
Yeah, exactly. I thought it was an all right move. Interested to see how he pans out as a starter. But I'm going to pull up his stats here from last year. Last year. Didn't start any games at all in 2023.
He started that's what Giants fans want to hear.
8 games. He started 8 games in his career. All 8 with the Cardinals in 2022. 3.29 ERA. Not that bad last year across 65 innings. The guy has never pitched more than 77 2/3 innings in a year. And you're trying to convert this guy to a starter. I don't know. I'm sure Jordan Hicks obviously had to have a say in this. He's not going to go out and volunteer to be a starting pitcher, most likely, unless he feels comfortable doing it. Obviously, it could possibly increase his value some from a okay closer to a starting pitcher who can give you more innings. But from the outside looking in, might not seem like the smartest deal in the world. My thoughts. But
I mean, with Duvall as the closer in San Francisco, they're not going to get off of that. I'm sorry, they're not going to, with obvious reasons. Farhan Zaidi, president of baseball operations for the Giants, used to run the show here with the Dodgers, and to me, this is one of those moves that tells me, hey, I'm smarter than everybody else in this room, and I'm going to show you how. To me, this is he's never started. He didn't start last year. He's only started less than 10 times in his career, but guess what? He's going to sign with us, and we're going to turn him into a starter, and I'm going to show everybody wrong. That's the Farhan Zaidi that I know from past, and this is that's what it tells me. This is what it tells me. They're trying to outsmart everybody in the room. And for the Giants' sake, I hope it works out. Because you mentioned it from the beginning. It's usually the other way. Usually starters get converted into relievers or closers. You never see it the other way, that the Giants are going to attempt to do now. Now, you're probably listening to this, well, you're a Dodger fan. Of course you're going to feel like this. I mean, well, part of it, yes, but when have we ever seen anything like this before? Now, if the Giants can figure it out and turn him into a decent, good starter, great. That's why you have him there. But if it doesn't, ooh, boy. Farhan Zaidi's leash is getting as short as it is already. And the impatience from Giants fans, and rightfully so, they're losing their patience with this guy. But if you keep messing this up, he's going to be out of a job. He's going to be out of a job soon.
4 years, $44 million for Jordan Hicks. Kyle, what's your take on this?
Yeah, so for me, there was a reason why the Giants ended up in my winners of the offseason list. They're making moves. They're trying to better this team. That deserves some praise. As desperate as they might seem, kind of like this one. That's kind of like this Giants team is screaming desperate. They are desperate for star players, star pitching, whatever it is. But what really worries me is the same thing that worries you guys. Is this guy going to be able to actually be in the rotation? Last season, pitching 65.2 innings. He has never pitched over 78 innings in his entire career, capping out at 77.2 with St. Louis, which was his first year in the bigs. That worries me. You know, if he were to give me more innings every single year, then yeah, I wouldn't be so worried. But like I said, he hasn't capped out past 80 innings. That worries me a lot. And, I mean, let's say it doesn't work, right? And you just move him to the bullpen. Well, now you're paying $11 million a year to a reliever. That's not really a thing in Major League Baseball anymore. Relievers don't make that kind of money.
Yeah, he's not going to be your closer, like Melo said.
Exactly. So what, is he going to be your setup man? So what, are you going to pay $11 million a year to a setup man? And then just pass the ball over to Duval to close the game? So that's where it worries me a little bit. I mean, this, and Melo, I think you hit it right on the head when you were talking about this move, screaming like, hey, we think we're smarter than you, and we're going to try to make it work. But guess what? If it doesn't work, you're going to look like the biggest idiot in the room. And, so for me, I think the contract kind of played in to him becoming a starter. But, I mean, I don't see a world where this works. I hope it does, just because the Giants have been so desperate, and they are trying to make the moves. And that's commendable. You know, we are constantly screaming at these teams that have owners who don't want to spend. Well, the Giants, they do one thing, and that's spend. Are they allocating the money to the proper areas? I don't know. It really hasn't proved that quite yet. But we'll see how it goes. So for their sake, I hope it works. And it's, especially for Jordan Hicks, too. He's only 27 years old. Let's say this does work out, and he can convert himself into a starter. We are seeing these numbers go up for starting pitching. I can't wait to see what Blake Snell's going to get. I mean, Jordan Montgomery. I think for his sake, the Giants are getting him over his prime, in his prime years, next 4 seasons, take him to age 31. I think if he can kind of turn it up and become a serviceable starter, then he's going to set himself up for a nice payday. But if it doesn't work, then I don't know. Then I think that the Giants just look like the biggest idiots. I think that's what it comes down to. So, yeah, this deal does worry me a little bit.
Giants made another tiny little move, and
oh yes,
I'm always interested how much of a say these special advisors actually end up having. But Dusty Baker was added as a special advisor to Farhan Zaidi recently, just within the last half an hour or so. It was announced. So, like I said, I would really like to ask one of these people who's been a special assistant, what does that consist of? Is that Zaidi saying, hey, Bruce, you coached this guy or you managed this guy at one point in his career. What's your thoughts on him? Or is that Bruce Bochy being in on every meeting with a free agent? I would love to know to what level is a special assistant dedicated to the team and to the front office there. Would love to know, but just small anecdote, toss that in there as well. I think we covered everything for the most part. We snuck the Michael Busch trade in there too. Almost forgot about that. Got Stroman, got Imanaga, got Jordan Hicks here. Hey,
wild week in Major League Baseball this last week.
We said the names that are still available. We forgot to mention Matt Chapman.
Oh, yes.
Nobody signed Matt Chapman yet, too. He's coming off of a not fantastic offensive year. He had a great first month, and then something happened. He was not the same, but still a great defensive third baseman.
That screams Giants.
Giants make sense. It does. There's a lot of teams who I think could make some sense there for Matt Chapman. But we'll see. This gives us more stuff to talk about further into the offseason, because right now we might be sometimes scrounging the bottom of the barrel to talk about stuff, but the signings are trickling. As long as they keep on trickling, we'll like it. And soon we're going to be mixing in signings with our division previews. I was
Yes.
looking that up the other day, trying to plan it out. We're getting into that territory soon. It's time to start doing the division previews here real soon. So we'll get into that soon. But that's gonna be it for episode 60. Unless you guys got any final thoughts.
TikTok. Let's go. Hurry up. Spring training's a month away.
Yes, it is.
Get your payments in order and let's go. Sign a team. Figure it out, please.
2 months from today, we will be prepping to take the flight to Florida real soon. So,
Yes.
a little sneak peek there for you. But yes, that's going to be everything for episode 60. We'll see you next week. Later.
Later.
Adios.